Hari Om and welcome from Niagara Falls. At the completion of Ramayana, one of the dialogues that has been happening is between Devi Parvati and Bhagwan Shiva. And Devi Parvati wants to know the source of Bhagwan Shiva's Ramayana. How do you know all of these details? How did you learn all of this? Bhagwan Shiva narrates to Devi Parvati that at one point you weren't Devi Parvati, you were Devi Sati. And during this time, you didn't want to be known as the daughter of Daksha, so you gave up your form and name, and I was deeply saddened. So I was wandering around the world, thinking about you, thinking about happiness, and I came across a dialogue between a crow and an eagle, between Bhushundi Rishi and Garuda, who is the vehicle of Bhagwan Vishnu. Bhushundi Rishi was teaching Garuda ji about Ramayana, so that's where I learned. And then Devi Parvati asks Bhagwan Shiva, how did Rishi Bhushundi learn about Ramayana? So he says that Rishi Bhushundi learned this from Loma Harsha Rishi. So then Devi Parvati asks, how did Loma Harsha Rishi learn Ramayana? And then Bhagwan Shiva says, from me. So Bhagwan Shiva taught Loma Harsha Rishi, who taught Rishi Bhushundi, who taught Garuda ji, and Bhagwan Shiva happened to be there. And this is such a lovely scene because Bhagwan Shiva is the original thinker of Ramayana, but he never had the ego to stop learning, even though he thought about it, but he was always ready to hear more, always ready to learn more. When he was with Rishi Bhushundi and Garuda ji, Rishi Bhushundi, he lived in an area with 4 trees. And these 4 trees are a peepal tree, a plaksha tree, a mango tree, right? Every Indian story has to have some sort of mango tree, and a banyan tree. And Rishi Bhushundi would actually engage in different sadhana under different trees. In the morning, under the peepal tree, he would engage in dhyana or contemplation. Later in the morning, under the plaksha tree, he would engage in japa or chanting. Later in the day, under the mango tree, he would engage in smarana. That's remembering Bhagwan, remembering the forms, the names of God. And at night, under the banyan tree, he would engage in the katha of Bhagwan. And during this time, lots of other birds, because he was in the form of a crow, an eagle, they came too. Now, why I'm highlighting this is to show that all day Rishi Bhushundi engaged in sadhana. All day, only the intensity changed. from contemplation to listening, our attitude in the morning, if we're able to get up early, if we're able to engage in contemplation or any sadhana, that same attitude will pervade the rest of our day. This morning, if you forgot that we had class, and then all of a sudden you remembered, so you rushed out of the bed, you may not have showered. I can't tell from here. The people around you can tell. So you had a cranky morning. So how is the rest of your day going to be? It's going to be cranky also, correct? But for those who remembered, we have class, they got up early, they bathed, they had a calm morning. And how's the rest of the day? It's going to be calm too. At no point should we make excuses to not engage in sadhana. If we can live like Rishi Bhushundi, see, during the day we have lots of work to do, even on Sundays, correct? More on Sundays for some of us. In the evenings, when you have to clean up after a week of happenings in your home, but with that attitude that all is sadhana, then work becomes worship. It's not restricted by space, not restricted by time. Our Vedanta course through Chinmaya Mission follows the same intensity. Our 7 a.m. classes were on the Upanishads, Dhyana. Our 4 p.m. classes were on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And then our 7 p.m. classes were on Ramayana. At night, one shouldn't do anything. Just listen to the katha of Bhagavan. Just engage in shravana. And see how lovely that is? You start with nididhyasana, then you go to manana, and then you go to shravana. But remember, whatever you sleep with, that thought will carry you through the night, and one will be ready in the morning. There's no break here. For some people, nighttime is when they start to do, correct? That's when they're most energetic and enthusiastic, because those lives don't revolve around sadhana. They revolve around bhoga, indulgence. There's a famous, powerful doha in Ramayana that talks about the importance of sadhana. Here the word satsang is used. This is the 61st section of Chopais. Binu satsanga nahari katha. Without being in satsang, there is no narration. There's no remembrance of Bhagavan. Okay, we all got that. But now the powerful part. Tehi binu. And without harikatha, moha na bhaga. Without bringing God into your life, moha cannot bhaga. Bhaga means run or go away. It is only through satsang that I get katha. Through katha, moha runs away. And remember, who's the icon for moha? Ravana. Ravana is the icon of moha. After Ramayana, the katha is complete, Rishi Bhushundi actually teaches Garudaji the entire Ramayana again. So after narrating Ramayana once, at the end of Ramayana, again this comes. This is from Chopais 64 to 68. So if you ever want Ramayana, like a Cole's Notes of Ramayana, if you ever want a Ramayana for idiots, you know, those condensed versions, I don't mean that in a rude way, then you can read these 4 Chopais and go through all of Ramayana once again. Because if you study like we did, we've actually covered 11,000 verses. 11,000, not 11 or 1100, but 11,000 verses can be encapsulated in these 4 chaupais. And I love thinking about that because it shows us when we tend to give dakshina or give to anyone, do you give even numbers or odd numbers? You tend to give odd numbers with that 1, isn't it? 101 or 100,001. That's a better number. The idea being is that my giving is not complete. I will continue my giving. The same goes with studying. We go back to shloka 1 to continue our studying. So that's being highlighted here. When we immerse ourselves in Ramayana again and again and again, moha bhaga. Someone who's suffering from confusion, they have dependence in their life. The more confused you are, the more dependent you are. The less confused you are, in other words, the more clear you are, the more independent one becomes. Through satsanga, through katha, we go from mumukshutvam to moksha. Mumukshutvam is wanting to know God. Mumukshutvam is wanting to be independently joyous. This becomes our experience. From satsang to katha to moksha. If this is not the plan of our lives, 2 strong signs of someone who does not have this mumukshutvam, someone who doesn't want the highest. There's a lot of blame and regret in their lives. If you think back to the calendar year that has passed, was there a lot of blame? Was there a lot of regret? And if yes, it's because we made that the priority rather than freedom. Our nature is existence, awareness, joy. How come I don't experience that? How come we don't feel that? And our typical response is, how come we're not free right now? What's our excuse? Maya, correct? Maya is our excuse. You know the word Maya? Ma means not, means no. Yaha means is present. So the word Maya actually means that which is not present, that which is not. Isn't that fascinating that we use an excuse that isn't even real? How come I'm experiencing Maya? And maybe another question is, why is there Maya? If there's only existence, awareness, joy, then why even bring in this factor of Maya? Bhagavan uses Maya to intensify our love. Listen to this carefully, okay? It is out of Bhagavan's compassion that we experience this confusion of where happiness is. When Arjuna and Duryodhana both arrive to Bhagavan Krishna, right before the war, and Bhagavan Krishna says, what do you want? And Arjuna says, I don't want Narayana Sena. I don't want the army. I want the Senapati. I want Narayana. I want you. So for Prince Arjuna, there was only Bhagavan Krishna. Then how come he experienced this confusion, this fear, this sorrow? Bhagavan made him confused so that any sort of doubt, any sort of distance between him and Bhagavan was erased, because at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is enlightened. And there's lots of more examples of how out of Bhagavan's compassion, he uses Maya to bring us closer. And an example that is given is, we always hear absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? It's only in intense heat or sun that we come to appreciate a tree or trees. So in our lives, if we're saying that Maya has made me forget existence, awareness, joy. Maya has made me forget who I am. Bhagavan is the one who's facilitating that Maya to call us, to bring us closer. In a very, very, very practical sense, Maya is the mind. There's only oneness, there's only existence, but the mind as if fragments this oneness into multiplicity. You have this pencil of white light and you put a prism in front of it, and what happens to that light? As if it breaks up into different colors. That's what the mind does. The mind doubts, isn't it? Doubts oneness, doubts that my nature is happiness. So Maya is the mind. The mind is Maya. Now, who owns Maya? Who runs Maya? We call Bhagavan Mayapati. And so we have to make the mind the dasi of Bhagavan. We have to make our mind the servant, the server of God. Naturally, the Maya dasi should be beneath the Maya pati. Is our mind like that? During this pause in our studies, did you remember the last 2.5 years of Vedanta and Ramayana? There's another lovely example given about Mayapati, Mayadasi. Mayapati is a magician. And the people on stage with that magician, are they deluded by the sleight of hand of the magician? All of the people on stage know what's going to happen, all of the tricks, correct? Because that stage person is a Maya Dasi of the Mayapati. But it's people in the audience that think, hey, how did they move that cards? How did that float? How is this burned? Isn't it? Our mind, like Rishi Bhushundi, goes from tree to tree to tree, from morning to afternoon to evening, from satsang to kata to moksha, has to be made the dasi. And earlier I shared that a sign of someone who's engaged in the pursuit of freedom has no blaming and no regretting. In other words, they're never shaken. Vivek will know if his mind, that is Maya, if he's using this mind to serve God, I will know if I'm less shaken. So what shakes us? What is the Sanskrit or Hindi word for funeral pyre or collection of wood? Chitta, correct? My body is put on a chitta and then it's burned. What is the Sanskrit or Hindi word for worry? Chinta, no? Just one letter of difference. A chitta burns a body that is dead. Chinta burns a body that is alive. Correct? A chitta burns a body that is dead. But chinta burns the body that is alive. Chinta comes to one who is shaken, to one whose mind is not offered to satsang, to kata, to moksha. And another way to look at this, does the sun know darkness? Does the sun know darkness? The sun has never seen darkness, correct? That's what knowledge is. When I have knowledge or clarity, satsang, kata, moksha, then there was never Maya. never Maya. For someone who is living Vedanta and Ramayana, there's only the sun. We call Bhagavan Rama Surya Vansha, correct? He is the epitome of this sun. There is no darkness. There is no Maya. Still, I keep saying there's Maya, correct? I'm afraid of dying in the unknown and sorrow. And I told you Bhagavan uses Maya out of compassion. Our Creator cannot tolerate ego, cannot tolerate pride. And our Creator uses Maya to break our ego, to erase our pride. So every time we experience hardships, the sole purpose for that hardship, there's nothing personal against you, there's something personal against the ego. Rishi Bhushundi has shared that every time Bhagavan Rama manifests, he would go to Ayodhya in the form of a crow and would live there for 6 years and just watch Bhagavan Rama as a young boy, as a Bala. We call it Balakanda, correct? And what's important to note here is I said every time Bhagavan Rama manifests. Ramayana didn't happen once. Ramayana happens again and again and again. Our Creator will come to help us again and again and again to erase our egos. There's a lovely description of Rishi Bhushundi as a crow watching Bhagavan Rama. When Bhagavan Rama as a boy would run around eating biscuits, cookies, the crumbs that would fall from his mouth, as a crow, he would go and eat those. You know, so much of revolving around Bhagavan Rama. Rishi Bhushundi, he loves Bhagavan Rama. And when someone loves joy, they gain all. When someone makes enlightenment the only purpose of their life, they get friendship, they get success, they get health, everything that we're living for, they get it all. There's only one Purushartha, which is moksha. With that comes dharma, artha, kama. Where there is pride, everything gets tainted, everything gets destroyed. Bhagavan Rama shares that he loves all beings, but he loves humans the most. And he loves humans the most because humans can have the most pride or the least pride. And no pride means they're like Bhagavan. We know humans can have the most pride, but we also have the potential for the least pride or no pride, okay? So Bhagavan says, I love all jivas, but I love humans the most, okay? There's a gradation here. So here's jivas, beings. He loves humans the most. Now amongst humans, he loves teachers the most. And here teachers is referring to sacred teachers, okay? Sacred teachers. Amongst sacred teachers, he loves those who are knowledgeable even more. So beings, humans, teachers, those who are knowledgeable. He loves those who are not just knowledgeable, but those who are responsible even more. In other words, they don't just have the knowledge, but they live that knowledge. So knowledgeable, responsible. He loves those who are disciplined even more. Here, discipline means those who are not trying to find joy outside, but they're trying to find joy inside. So this gradation is being given Use this to judge yourself, please. For yourself. He loves those who are experienced even more than those who are disciplined. Those who are enjoying their own company, those who are enjoying their own nature, they have experience of the self. He loves them even more. And the beings that he loves the most are those who are dependent on him. Dependent on him. And if I can rewind to when we studied Rama Gita and Sri Lakshmana asked Bhagavan Rama, what is bhakti? And Bhagavan Rama said, when someone depends on me, that is bhakti. So here Bhagavan is saying even more transcendental than moksha is bhakti. God is not partial to anyone. God is only partial to love. Because God's nature is love, and love is attracted to love, isn't it? Misery is always looking for company. Miserable people love miserable people. Happy people love happy people. Bhagavan loves love because he is love. And there's a specific quarter where Bhagavan says, I am not partial to Purusha. Purusha means man. I am not partial to Napumsaka, which means those who are genderless. I am not partial to Nari. Nari means woman. I am not partial to Chara, those who, or things that move, nor to Achara, those who, or things that don't move. Completely impartial. So us appreciating this, can there be blaming in our lives? If we live for love, love will live for us. Love for the Lord initiates grace. Kripa. Grace pulls with it jnana or knowledge. Knowledge then pulls faith or shraddha. Okay, so what was at the bottom? Kripa. Or grace pulls knowledge. What you have knowledge of, you tend to have faith in, and shraddha pulls bhakti or dependence. We're looking at many, many, many ways how to be more devoted, how to be more dependent. And it is only through dependence on God that sadness is erased. 3 fears of humans, of all beings: fear of death, fear of the unknown, and fear of sadness. So though we're studying Bhakti Shastras, the science of love, on Sunday mornings, this is also the science of fearlessness. And I tell you, it is Ramayana, it is Bhagavatam that is needed now more than ever. There's a large, large section at the end of Ramayana where Rishi Bhushundi is telling Garudaji what's going to happen in Kali Yuga. What's going to happen in the age of selfishness. And there's lots. I'll give you some highlights. As I read these out to you, you please assess if this is happening or not happening. I'm giving you 10% of the signs of Kali. One is irresponsibility. Present or not present, or growing or not growing. You know, in Ontario now, the fine for distracted driving is $1,000. Because people are just not caring about 150 or 450 or 600. So now it's $1,000. Irresponsibility, no? Okay, another sign is being an atheist. Now I'm more popular if I say I'm an atheist, isn't it? Being a theist is so not cool. Being an atheist. Another happening in Kali Yuga is knowledge is sold. Isn't that true? Even in a sacred sense, to be part of this course, you have to give $2,500 and don't tell anyone. I'm going to whisper something in your ear. I'm going to tie something to your wrist, and this is only for you. Knowledge is sold, isn't it? In Kali Yuga. Another sign is people are moody. Growing or shrinking? A moody person does what they want to do, not what they're supposed to do. We keep telling our kids that they're moody. Aren't we moody also? Another is hypocrites are praised as saints. That someone says something but follows another thing, but nobody actually pays attention. Nobody actually critically thinks about that, so all hypocrites are treated as sadhus. Shishyas are deaf and gurus are blind. Not physically, okay? Shishyas are deaf, gurus are blind. Shishyas don't listen to anything. I'll answer this question. Is this happening? Yes. More every year. And gurus are blind. They don't know where they're going. They can't lead anyone else. You can answer this for yourself. They don't know where they're going. Another sign is parents teach their kids that religion is udara barai. Religion is that which fills your stomach. So the only dharma that parents teach their kids is get a job, get married, pay for a mortgage. There's no sacredness in their upbringing. It's just about their stomach. Shows the importance of Balivera, no? Another is, one is doomed, and instead of going into withdrawal, they start to doom other people too. If you come off a plane sick, what do they do with you? Put you in quarantine, correct? Don't doom other people. But here, I'm going down. I'm going to take as many people down with me. Another is, there's a greater trend of famines and droughts. California? Texas? No? More famines, more droughts. And here's one more. That people contend with others for no reason at all. Wouldn't we describe society as competitive? Hyper-competitive? Why? The spirit of selfishness is strong. And hearing all of this, one feels a lack of hope. One feels despondent. But there's one blessing that comes with living in this period of selfishness. If everyone around you is not so smart and your intelligence is average, then the not so smart people think you are very smart, isn't it? Even though you're not very smart, but they think you're very smart. Gaurang uncle was telling me, someone had come to him and said, you know, Gaurang uncle, all of you teachers, you're such experts in Sanskrit. And Gaurang uncle said, it's not that we're experts in Sanskrit. Sanskrit is so rare that anybody knows any Sanskrit. We think they're all the experts in Sanskrit. Right? We just reduced our standards, our expectations to be so low. So in Kali Yuga, our Creator is great. He lowers the expectations of us a whole lot. During Satya Yuga, during the period when the mind and intellect are totally integrated, The sadhana for moksha, the way to be enlightened, is dhyana. Everyone is strong enough to contemplate, so everyone contemplates and everyone gets enlightened. But we know with time, atrophy kicks in, correct? So the mind and intellect, they start to separate. That adharma or disintegration takes place. In Treta Yuga, that's the period of Ramayana, people couldn't engage in dhyana, so they engaged in yagas, macro rituals. Bhagavan Rama was sent to protect those yagas in the jungle, correct? Time continues, so does atrophy. The mind and intellect split more. In Dwapar Yuga, that's Bhagavan Krishna's period, people couldn't engage in macro rituals, so they engaged in micro rituals, which we call as puja. During Dwapar Yuga, the way to moksha is puja. Now, in the period of selfishness, it's almost a total disintegration between the mind and intellect. We can't even engage in puja now, isn't it? And so the sadhana for moksha is japa. It is japa. Why japa? Because we're no longer strong enough to free ourselves, so we need help. The weight of our papa, the weight of our selfishness is so heavy that we can't even take that off ourselves. You know when you have a really heavy backpack and you can't move your arms to put it down? So someone has to come from behind and hold the backpack, and then you pull your arm out one by one. It is through asking for help, through asking for Bhagavan's kripa, that we are freed of Maya. Japa is a catalyst to bhakti. Do you remember me asking you, how do you become a bhakta? How do you become the highest, even past moksha? One becomes a bhakta by living with bhaktas. And a lovely expression of this is, when bhaktas meet bhaktas, what do they talk about? They talk about Bhagavan. When bhaktas meet Bhagavan, what do they talk about? Bhaktas, isn't it? When bhaktas meet Bhagavan, they talk about bhaktas. And with this thought, we now transition from Ramayana to Bhagavatam. The word Bhagavatam is made up of 4 compounds. Bha. Bha means light. Bha means joy. Ga. Ga means to go. So to go to that light, to go to that knowledge. Va means best. Like varam. The best way to go to light, to knowledge. And then you have ta. Ta means boat. So the best boat to go to light. The best knowledge to go to joy is Bhagavata. And there's some more meanings to Bhagavata. The word Bhagavata means the nature of Bhagavan. So if someone asks, what's the nature of God? We say Bhagavata. The word Bhagavata also means the path to that nature, the path to Bhagavan, which is very synonymous with Ramayana, isn't it? The ayana to Rama, this is the tavaga to Bha. And one more meaning of Bhagavata is belonging to. One who belongs to Bhagavan, one who belongs to God is known as Bhagavata. Srimad Bhagavatam is 18,000 shlokas, 18,000 verses in Sanskrit, whose only purpose is Bhagwan, Bhakti, Bhakta. In Bhagavatam, we'll see so many similarities between Ramayana and Bhagavatam, and particularly about japa. An atom contains so much energy to ignite, to destroy that which is physical, correct? Imagine God's name as that atom. When we remember Bhagwan, when we remember Bhagwan's name, Bhagwan's heart melts. And if an atom has so much power, imagine the creator of that atom. How much power there would be, that grace would come in. And with it, knowledge. With it, faith. With it, dependency. And there will be no more sadness. Japa, in this period of selfishness that we are living in, and we're actually in the first quarter. The selfishness we see in ourselves and around us is going to become 3 times more intense. Bhagwan knows we're not perfect. And so all we have to do is ask for help. And earlier I'd mentioned that God cannot tolerate pride. Sometimes our pride doesn't allow us to ask for help, isn't it? If someone asks me for a sadhana and I say chant Om Namah Shivaya, they think it's too simple, correct? I'd like to study the Brahma Sutras. Can you teach me that? When Garudaji hears Rishi Bhushandi share all of these details, he feels remorse that he had ever doubted Bhagwan. He feels that remorse. Now for all of us, we've just completed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to study Ramayana, to be knowledgeable about it, to be responsible with it, to be disciplined, as in to follow it, to experience Ramayana. We're about to begin another once-in-a-lifetime journey through Bhagavatam. Here, this word remorse, we shouldn't use this in a stagnation way, but rather, what have I been doing for 40 years? What has been the purpose of 2018? What is all of this? Instead of remorse, imagine we can change it to reflection. Then all will change. Bhagwan's compassion deludes us so we are closer. Bhagwan's compassion brings listeners to a speaker. Brings listeners to a speaker. How much of Bhagwan's compassion has been shared on us that Prince Arjuna was deluded, and all of us get Bhagavad Gita. How fortunate we are that many reasons for Bhagwan Vishnu to come as Bhagwan Rama, and we get Ramayana. I began teaching 2 half-hour classes of Bhaja Govindam in this very ashram 11 years ago, on January 13th, so coming up, as in when we enter into the first shloka of Bhagavatam. So 11 years ago, I did half an hour of Bhaja Govindam for adults and half an hour for the youth. And for 11 years, I've been able to speak about Bhagwan, Bhakti, Bhakta. That is our Creator's compassion on me. And for you to relate to in your own way also. Bhagavata is to be Bhagavata, to belong to God. Om.